We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk, 1180. Our guest by phone, Brian Johnston, director of the LifeFest Film Festival.
You turned it over to me, and I made my negative comments already. So
okay. Well, Brian was about to talk about The Way before I cut him off at the break.
That's right, Clay. One of the things, it's a very interesting film. It's made by Martin Sheen's good son, if I could use that term. But basically, no, it's not made by Charlie. It's made by Emilio Estevez. And it's a very subtle film. I recommend people seeing it. And I won't go into the whole thing, but it's a very subtle film. And it really talks about how we live our lives and the value of each life. And there is, in fact, and this may surprise some folks, but it has a very strong message regarding abortion within it. It's not the main theme, but it's clearly a subplot, and it's very artfully done. And that's the purpose of film is art. So what you want to do is present a story artfully so people feel it naturally. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to hit them over the head too hard. And The Way does that. But there's also something else about Martin Sheen, and that a lot of people don't realize. I know Clay knows, and a lot of us know, that Martin Sheen is actually way, way left on a lot of stuff. But not many people know that he's actually very pro-life on abortion and on euthanasia, Clay. We talked about euthanasia earlier.
Right, I read your article.
Martin Sheen, on abortion, he specifically has talked about his grandchildren. He has grandchildren, several of them conceived out of wedlock. And he has publicly said he is so glad that they were not killed because they are the light of his life. And that he is opposed to abortion because it takes a human life. Now, why that's significant is that, Marty, you and I and Clay, we can say that, and our friends will pat us on the back. But if Martin Sheen says that, that is deeply alarming to the culture of Hollywood.
Well, one of the things
goes against the grain.
One of the things he did say, he said he experienced the great joy of God's presence in my children.
That's right.
So it's nice to see he's got a Christian value as well.
That's right. And then this current battle, again, which we just talked about and people need to understand, I was pleased. I was in Washington when this was on the ballot. And he went out of his way and he cut ads talking about if assisted suicide is legalized, what it means. And he actually described what's at stake. And it will be people who don't have enough money. It will be people who don't have family members to be advocates for them. And another time we'll talk about that. If you have someone in a nursing home even now, and I was on the board of examiners in nursing homes in California, you need to be an advocate for them if they're in a nursing home. Mm-hmm. But if assisted suicide is legalized, you won't have to worry about it because if no one's speaking up for that person, they will be euthanized once it's legalized. And Martin Sheen sees that, and he's speaking out against assisted suicide. So while there might be other issues you and I disagree with him on, we want to affirm that which is good. And the fact is that really the right to life should be a left value, a lib value. And that's how we've presented LifeFest. We want to celebrate the value of every life, the uniqueness of every life. And if you say that to somebody who's a lefty, are they going to disagree with that? Oh, they don't believe every life has value? And if they do, then it opens wide the door to really examine their own premise, because that really should be the premise of where the left is coming from. David Roberti, who was president pro tem of the state Senate years ago, very, very hard left. He told me, Brian, I don't know what's happened in the Democrat Party, but I became a Democrat because supposedly Democrats speak up for the little guy. And in abortion, that's what's really at stake. So the fact is, this should be a value of the left. And the fact that Martin Sheen is willing to speak against his cohorts in Hollywood on this issue, I think should be honored, and we're going to honor him. Instead, we're also honoring some of the other films that are more clearly out of the traditional value worldview, October Baby, Doonby, and then we've had many international submissions, and we have the directors and producers coming, and then there's also studio workshops for people in the industry. If you're interested in acting, maybe you're a part-time actor, and want to find out how the industry works, there's workshops for you on producing films, on getting distribution, anything to do with the industry. That's what we want to do. We want good films out there. We want to change the culture. We can't just say, oh, it's all bad, pox on that house.
And if you mention TCB, when ordering online, you'll get a 15% discount to all screenings, workshops, award ceremonies, and receptions. Our guest by phone, Brian Johnston, director of LifeFest Film Festival.
Brian, if the Supreme Court doesn't overturn Obamacare, who's going to decide whether I or you or Marty or anyone else lives or die in the future?
Well, that's exactly right. It'll be a bureaucrat. It'll be a federal bureaucrat. And it's ominous. And if that's the case, Clay, I think what we have to do, hopefully, at least we'll take back the Senate. And we'll have to, by legislation, and it's very hard, as we talked about, how legislation really works is not a pretty sight. It's where there's real work done. But we will have to take over the Congress and dismantle Obamacare. I was present when it was voted through, and I watched from the gallery. And Marty had it right. They only won because Obama lied to Catholic members of Congress and promised no abortion would be paid for. He literally signed a document. And now he's up front that it was a lie.
Well, he's lied about several things. Doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So this entire bill, which changes the very nature of the medical practice in our nation, was predicated on a lie, on sophistries, on pushing through a bill that no one read, that literally the Speaker of the House saying, you can read it after you approve it. And the reality is there are some legislators that do like reading bills and want to do so. You need to vote for those kind of people in the fall, and you need to also vote out Barack Obama if you want to make a difference. Don't be dissuaded from the impact you can have on the laws, if you're voting, and on the culture by supporting good films and by being involved in good cultural values. And that's what LifeFest does. May 5th, at the Convention Center.
Brian, Marty was in the Marines and I was in the Army, and I don't know if you were in the service or not, but we can say things about Obama and not have to worry about getting a dishonorable discharge.
I like that.
I've always been just a citizen, although I'm a big fan. I regret not being in the service, but I'm so proud of our citizen soldiers, and I'm glad that citizens are free to speak, and I think soldiers should be too, because that's what's made America great, is our freedom of speech.
Now, Brian, it's always too short when we have you. We got to have you back. We've got about a minute and 40 seconds left, and I want to run a quick question by you, okay? Ashley Judd, Sarah Silverman, in the last week and a half, they both had, pro-abortion commercials on. Is that the kind of pushback that you're getting from Hollywood? Does that have anything to do with LifeFest? Because
you're going to see that. That's right. See, these people know they impact culture. And something you need to realize as a cultural consumer is that you are just as smart as these people. In fact, a lot of these people, I hate to say it, but they're not any smarter than you. They just act like it. You can make a difference in culture. If maybe you want to support a film, we talked about investing, that you're investors. I know people making films are looking for investors because these films will change the world. And you can make a difference. You're more important than Ashley Judd. You're more important than these people who want to foist their will and wishes on the American mindset. You can do that too. And one of the ways is finding out how at LifeFest. And we're in a fight. Let's rise to the occasion.
Yep, I totally agree. So again, LifeFest is May 4th, 5th, and 6th at the LA Convention Center. And if you order your tickets online and you put in TCB as a special code, you'll get a 15% discount on all screenings, workshops, award ceremonies, and receptions.
What's the website?
What is the website?
LifeFilmFest. LifeFilmFest.com.
LifeFilmFest.com. Again,
and it's also on Facebook. Yep.
Great. Brian, thank you so much for being here. We always appreciate the time. There's never enough time when we have you on. And
it's always a pleasure, and you're the best of Kern County.
Thank you, my friend. And we will talk to you soon and have you on before the election.
Okay, guys.
We'll be back in 167 hours on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.